Grace and peace. Welcome to spreadingtruthministry.com on YouTube, and thank you so much for tuning in. This is a review for the Preachers of LA, episodes 7 and 8. I do apologize. I've been having issues with my computer, serious issues with my computer. It's amazing that I was able to bring it back to factory mode and get some of the programs back on there. It's been quite a challenge, but nevertheless, we're doing the best that we can until we can do better. And Lord bless with another computer. Until then, we'll just try to make it work. And we thank God that it is running a little bit better than what it was running before. Nevertheless, I figure why wait an additional week for episode 8. Just combine both the episodes because I'm going to do it really quickly. And plus, episode 8 really, there wasn't a lot there anyway. I think that I can do that right off the top of my head because I just got through reviewing it, so I think it'll be quick. So hope you like it. So episode 7 begins with the ladies meeting with Minister Haddon's fiance to touch bases. And the ladies meaning, let's see, Bishop Gibson's wife, Pastor Cheney's wife, and Pastor Jay's wife. Yes, I believe. Yes, I believe. Yeah. Those three. So they come together, the pastors' wives, and they meet just check up on it to make sure everything is going well, and and that type of thing. And so conversation was going well, and all of a sudden, sex came up. Dominique, Sister Dominique, had a question. She proposed a question to the ladies about, just how to keep the love going, how to keep your man interested, that type of thing. And, they basically alluded to the fact that you just need to have sex and have it frequently, and frequency is important in pleasing your husband. And so, for whatever the reason, which I find to be pretty interesting, Lady Cheney had an issue with saying the word sex. She said everything under the sun but that word for whatever the reason. I don't know if it's taboo to her or maybe she just felt away just talking to them about it. But she seems very comfortable in her own skin when she's around her husband. If you can recall the first episode, they kind of alluded to the fact that they frequent sex and they enjoy it and that's important and that type of thing. So I'm really, really surprised that she was acting kind of new when it came to the subject. Like she really didn't want to even say the word, which I thought it was kind of interesting. Maybe it's because she was on camera. She was on camera at home, so I didn't get that. Maybe it was because they were, the ladies, and maybe she's not comfortable. So I don't know. But anyway, after which they discussed the Haddon family drama or the conflict that they had because of Dietrich's, Minister Haddon's divorce and his pregnancy, and it happening relatively all at the same time. And so therefore causing a little conflict, being that his parents, not only was he a pastor and a notable gospel figure, I think him and his wife were pastoring together. When I say him, meaning Minister Haddon and his wife were both pastoring together the church, to my understanding. And also, his parents are pastors as well, and his mother is a prophetess and his father's a bishop. So, that's not going to look good, period. Regardless of who you are in the body, it's just not going to look good. And so, obviously there was some conflict in the family because of his decision. And plus they didn't completely understand like how things came about, what sequence, that type of thing. So I think they were kind of in the dark about what was going on. I don't think he was as forthcoming as he probably should have been regarding his marriage. And I think that obviously he hid his relationship with Dominique. And so they didn't really know, like I said, exactly who she was or where she came from, that type of thing. So anyway, they talked about it, and she tried to let them know that, when they're trying to move in the right direction, despite of the challenges. Next, Bishop Jones was sitting with his driver, and he's discussing the fact that he's a little bit under the weather. He's not feeling well physically speaking, and he said it might be psychological as well, but he had to cancel an engagement because of it. And his driver suggested that, definitely go see a doctor, that type of thing, but he encouraged him to call Loretta, because he's saying that, having a person in your life that can support you, during this time is important, and I can agree with that. I can agree with that. But I find that relationship a little bit interesting, but I'm going to go into it a little bit further, in just a few moments. Next, Minister Haddon had a conversation with Dominique, Sister Dominique, about his parents coming. Obviously, the wedding is in a few days or so, whatever. I don't know exactly what the time frame for the taping was, but the wedding was about to come, and so his parents were coming for that purpose. And so he was just kind of discussing with her that maybe we all need to just kind of hash this out or whatever, just kind of make it plain, make it clear as to what's going on, where we're at now, bring them up to date. Dominique, I think, asked him, did you tell them that we were married? He said no. So I think they both came to the conclusion that they really just need to come clean. I think the family has experienced enough drama that you just need to be open and honest and completely forthcoming at this point so that you can make amends. And I think they both were on the same page with that, even though there was a little bit of animosity from Sister Dominique, which is just a little bit understandable, but she has to understand that they did not know her, nor did they know her intentions at the time. So yeah, there might have been something said. She might have been kind of thrown under the bus, if you will, or they might have made some assumptions about her, because that's generally what happens. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I think it's wrong to make those assumptions. Just because, you don't know me doesn't mean that I seduce your son. He's a grown man, and he made a decision to sleep with me. And plus, I think they had a relationship prior to all that happening. So she wasn't just side chick. And I think that initially, the family, that's what they thought that she was, or perhaps even a homewrecker. So they had their conversation, and she kind of shared, with Minister Haddon how she felt about it. And again, a little animosity still in her tone, and he kind of brought that to her attention. I think that maybe this is something you need to kind of deal with, because you don't want to enter into a marriage with unresolved issues. And I definitely would agree with that. If you're going to move forward in your relationship, it's time that everything be resolved. Next, Pastor Janie and his household came together, and they were discussing the challenges with balancing family and church business, and church life and church business and balancing family. It's a lot. Their kids are still small. I've been in that situation, having small kids, trying to balance a church, ministry. It's a lot. It's a lot and a lot. It's a lot, but I do like the fact that they do try to stay grounded as a couple, and that's important. You have to really keep it tight, your relationship, when you're trying to balance everything, because if you don't, your challenges, different things will interfere with your marriage and cause all kinds of havoc, and it will in turn affect the growth and the progress of the church. So it's important that your relationship, and they seem like they stand strong together. So I like their relationship. I like the dynamic between the two. You can tell that they're not novice when it comes to the marital realm. Even though they haven't been married that long, I don't believe they've been married that long. Their kids are relatively small, but you can tell that, in my opinion, I think they're a good fit. I think their personalities fit, and they balance each other out. And so anyway, they were talking about the gospel concert, which was the feature for this particular episode. And I guess Lady Cheney, which is the executive pastor now, she's the one that's kind of orchestrating everything. She's the one that's planning it, and she's spearheading this particular project. So we'll see how things turn out in just a few moments. Next, it was the Haddon family's dinner. The Haddons came into town. The mother's trying to be hospitable to Sister Dominique because she's entered into their home. So she's trying to be respectful, and but you can tell again there was a little bit, it was a little bit off, but you can tell that, again, they haven't made amends as of yet. So there was a huge elephant in the room. You could tell that. Minister Haddon told his parents at dinner that they were already married. They discussed that. They discussed the wedding ceremony. They discussed, um, you know, the blessing of the baby. I think the shower was discussed at the dinner. The mom was invited to the shower. The blessing of the baby, obviously, the fact the father didn't want to bless the baby when they weren't married and that type of thing, that was discussed. And it was even a conversation about restoration of Minister Haddon. His father felt like that he needed his blessing in order to move forward in ministry. That's a whole nother discussion, but I'll discuss that in a few moments. So all that was discussed, and the fact that Minister Haddon had went on silence due to his indiscretions. He silenced himself, so he sat himself down. He stopped preaching, he stopped singing, he stopped pastoring, obviously, because of his situation. So he was like, I'm just gonna just kind of lay low for a minute, let God work it out, seek for forgiveness, try to do the right thing by her, whatever. And in the process, he felt like he did everything that he needed to do to make it right with God. And so therefore after he got married, went back on to the preaching and everything else that he was called to do. Once that they informed their parents that they were already married, they were completely fine with it. The father had made a statement about restoring him back because he had failed. And I think, of course, Minister Haddon took offense to that. He was very offended. He was like, who are you, da da da. But I guess he was saying in the eyes of the public that they need to know that I support you and that you're back, you're back functioning in the capacity of a minister and you have my blessing. So I guess I understood what he meant. He meant more of a formal way, not as if like, yeah, God forgave you, but you need forgiveness from me. I didn't think that he meant that. I think he meant more of a formal clergic type, authority over him, as his overseer. You know what I'm saying? So, in saying that, he's okay, he's done this, he's done that, but yet God has restored him, and just kind of having his blessing so that he can move forward in ministry, and that he's not doing it behind his back, but everybody's on the same page. So I got it. Of course, Minister Haddon took offense at first, but I think after he let his dad talk, and I think once he still had his feelings about it, but he received what his father had to say. Next, the Cheneys and the Gospel Fest. Of course, they had issues. There was no sound check. With that type of event, you have to do checks and balances. I mean, the event was too large for you, and of course, that was her first big event. I planned smaller events. I haven't ever planned an event that big before, but I can imagine that if you're going to involve sound, that you need to check that in advance, as soon as possible, to make sure that everything, you can't wait until the last minute to check the sound. And in this situation, that's what happened. And because of that, everything was not set up properly. So there was a huge delay. And so I think that the sound ended up not working for like 3 hours, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, it was pretty close to I don't know, almost not working out, but it ended up working out, and the sound eventually came back on. Next, Bishop Jones, he sees a doctor, as was advised, and then he thought about it. He thought that would be a good idea as well. The results of the checkup is that his blood pressure and his cholesterol is high. The excessive traveling is negatively impacting his health. The doctor suggested that he get a friend to help him. Number one, he needs to stop traveling as much, and that he needs someone in his life that's going to help him. And so he immediately thought about Sister Loretta to be that somebody to help him. And it's amazing to me how sometimes it takes situations and circumstances to cause you to remember that an individual that's in your life has huge weight and plays a huge role in just bringing balance to you, and that they're important, more important than you thought that they were. Because I think sometimes we take each other for granted, and I think that once he got sick, I think that he really, really knew in his mind that she is very important to him. As far as what he's going to do after that, we're going to see. We're going to see. Next, again, the Gospel Fest challenges. I thought it was interesting how Pastor Cheney had made a statement regarding his godly disposition. I thought that was hilarious, and he was like, if things don't get going, she's gonna see some heads rolling. I thought that was kind of funny. There was the sound check finally occurred. Sound started working. They began to rearrange some things so that they can move forward with the concert. Based on Pastor Cheney's comments, they were happy with the results of the concert. Everything went well. I guess went beyond their expectations. He said it was maybe one of the best events that they've had to date. He was very happy with her. The executive pastor, which is Lady Maisha, she also performed, and they were very excited about what she did and how well she did, and she had did this little move or something while she was performing. And so I forgot the young lady's name, but she's like an assistant to them. I'm assuming she's on a board, the church board, and she had made a statement. Actually, she was on I forgot, Brandy and them show. It was Brandy and Ray J's family show. I forgot the name of the reality show, but anyway, it was the friend, Brandy's friend. I forgot her name, but she is on the board, so it was the same young lady. She was making comments about that that Lady Maisha was twerking in Jesus' name. I say, you know what? I don't even see how you can use twerk and Jesus in the same context, but anywho, but anyway, they were happy for her and they enjoyed her performance. Next, and Bishop Cheney said that he was proud of her. Next, Bishop Jones decided to go to the restaurant. He felt compelled to go and talk to her. Obviously, he's been in thought about their relationship, and I think the health scare or whatever, the health situation reminded him of just how important Sister Loretta is to him. So he decided to definitely go and have a conversation with her, and in his way express the fact that he misses her and that type of thing, and that he needs her in his life. So he admits all of that to her, and so she was like, you know what, give me some time to think, because basically he was like, are we back on da da da. She's like, well, I don't know, because you kind of had me around for 16 years and you didn't seem in a hurry to take the relationship to the next level, so I'm not sure exactly what you mean. And I'm sure the Sister Loretta was like, I'm not sure if I want to be back on like how things were. You know what I mean? Kind of like them being friends, but not more than friends, but yet more than friends, that type of thing. Kind of in limbo. So, I think that she had every right to say, she wants him to work for her. She wants him to earn her. He has to show her that she is important to him. And so I definitely agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that she has waited for some time for him to kind of turn around and to see her significance, as the women said initially in a few episodes ago, to see her worth, that she's worth a lot, number one, to God, but number two, that she's worth a lot to him. And I don't think he really realized until that situation happened just how, and obviously the distance, because they stopped contacting each other. They gave each other space so that he can think it through. And I think he came to the realization that he really does care about her, and he wants her in his life. Now, what is he going to do going forward? I guess time will tell. Time will tell. At the end of the episode, Prophetess Haddon, which is Minister Dietrich's mom, I think he looks just like his mom, by the way, just like her. She apologized to Sister Dominique for the things that occurred from the beginning of their relationship. Obviously, the relationship was quite complicated with, alleged adultery, alleged mistress status, and all that other stuff, and then premarital sex and baby out of wedlock, all that stuff. So, yeah, there was some jumping to conclusions going on, and so obviously Prophetess Haddon was not happy with the situation. She was not happy with how her son handled the situation, nor was she happy with Dominique and her role. Okay, so obviously Dominique probably got a brunt of a little of that. I'm sure she got the brunt of that, and so she explained to Dominique just how she felt in that moment. Basically, like she didn't know her, she didn't know what her intentions were, and that's understandable. And also, Dominique explained to her that she just kind of expected for her to be more, instead of being a mom, which she expected for her to put on her the minister cap instead of the mom cap. But I don't think that that's fair. I think that now that she's a mom, I think that she will understand a little bit better that it's kind of hard to switch those hats off and on sometimes. And in your mommy mode, protector mode, you're really not really kind of looking at the whole picture as you would normally when you're sitting as a minister and you're just analyzing a situation in a spiritual matter. I'm sure, I'm speaking of Prophetess Haddon, was just beyond, you know what I mean, upset at the situation and just couldn't believe that they were having this conversation about what was going on at that time. But she did acknowledge that she did make an error and that not everything that she said was wrong, but some of the things that had happened and the things that were said and whatever, she did admit that. So I definitely commend, Prophetess Haddon for, trying to make amends with Sister Dominique and and taking ownership for her behavior, because I think a lot of people in ministry, we do see that. We do see people in leadership offend flock, offend young people, offend members, you know what I mean? Offend lay members and even other ministers, and they never take ownership for their part. You know what I'm saying? Even though the person may have been wrong and things may have happened or whatever, but that was mighty big of her to, apologize, especially in front of the world, you know what I mean, via the camera. So kudos to her for that, and it was heartfelt. And so she accepted her apology. She said what she had to say, and I'm glad that they were able to talk and reconcile. Next was the bridal shower. The bridal shower was actually hosted by Loretta at JJ Bistros, the restaurant that she has there. And it was interesting. All her friends and family, not all of them, but I'm sure the ones that are close to her were there. It was a nice crowd. Prophetess Haddon gave a speech, just saying that she honors her, as a woman, and she admires her strength and the fact that she's been there for her son, and basically letting her know all is well, and she's liking, how things are progressing so far, more like keep up the good work. So, that's good to know that, you have her blessing to move forward in the relationship. They gave her gifts. There was a lot of gifts that were given during that time. I mean, I can go into it, but in general, they had some very sexy gifts there. Obviously, for the honeymoon, there was a lot of things that were going on there. I'm gonna go into it, but all I do know is that they had some toys there. They had some little undies there that was edible, and there might have been some other stuff. They blurred it out, so you really couldn't see it clearly, like the gifts, but they were showing them, and so they were laughing, and a few people were blushing and that type of thing, and she was blushing also. But it was interesting, as she was opening her gifts, all of a sudden her gifts began to set on fire. There was a fire that broke out. I'm thinking there was like candles at the table, and I'm thinking maybe some of the wrapping paper caught to the fire, and but she was saying, I know why that fire got started. It was because of those sex toys. Could be. Who's to say? Are sex toys right or wrong? I'm not even going to go into that. I'm not even going to go into that. Hallelujah. I'm just not. But anyway, that pretty much ends episode 7, because the reason why I say I'm not going to go into it, not because I'm afraid to, it's just that that's a whole nother lesson. It really is a lesson. There is no right or wrong. It's really is a conviction thing, because people say, because I've heard people say that when it's a couple thing, certain things are okay. When you're independent, it's not. There aren't a lot of scriptures to really say yay or nay to it. That's the only problem with that. So with that, I just like to say, in all things, seek ye the kingdom and all of his righteousness, and he'll add all things unto you. So ask God as to what's best in that situation. She's married, the bed is undefiled. I'm not saying that that's okay. I'm just saying that that's definitely between them and God, and that's something that they should inquire about. I mean, I don't think that, because I've heard people say that the bedroom is almost like a free for all, that is undefiled, and I disagree. I don't agree with that. But I do believe that the couple should seek counseling from God, as to how far they should go and that type of thing. Because there are people that may say, only one position is appropriate, and that's not even scripture. So, but that's their conviction. So I don't want to give somebody advice based on my conviction. I'd rather give somebody advice based on the scriptures. If there is no scripture for it, then I just try to maybe give them something close to it, or just say, pray about it and ask God to lead you, because that's just where we're at in this season. So that pretty much ends episode 7. As far as episode 8, I'm going to do episode 8 now. Basically, the episode 8 was just mostly about the wedding. It was all about the wedding. The family came in town. The Haddons, all the Haddons, the sisters, the brother, mom and dad obviously was there, and they're all some singing people, just like you said, and they all can sing very well. I enjoyed that little moment that they had as a family, and they needed to have some conversation about the things that had transpired. Obviously, based on how things went, I think that they were close. They're a close family, but I think the situation that Minister Haddon had went through had caused them to be estranged a tad. He felt like he had to handle it by himself in private, that type of thing. He really didn't know what to do. I guess this is the first time he's been in a situation. Thank God for that. So he really didn't know how to quite handle the situation. And so his siblings felt like he did not handle it properly. He kept information from them. He kept them in the dark. The one sister, I'm thinking she's the oldest. I don't know if she's the oldest. She seems to be the oldest sister, but she was extremely offended by him. This happened later on in the episode, but I'm just going to talk about it now. But she was extremely offended by the fact that she felt that he kept her in the dark. Like, he did not let her know that he was having a baby, or the situation maybe with his marriage was on the rocks, or that he was at a desperate place in his life. Like, he did not share that with them. So she was very offended. She cried. He was about to cry. The other brother seemed like he was about to cry. The other sister seemed like she was about to cry. It was a very deep moment. He asked them to please forgive me. From here going forward, I'm going to be open and honest, and I'm not going to hide anything from you going forward. Some other things that happened during this episode was, again, they were prepping for the wedding, which was the finale was the wedding. I think there was Bishop Gibson. Okay, there was a moment with Bishop Gibson's sister. A couple episodes back, his sister went into rehab for drug use, and so they had met again. He wanted to check on her progress. She's doing well. I guess that whatever was in her system is completely out of her system. So I think she went through a detox period where she no longer has the drugs in her system. And he testified that she looked well. Her eyes looked clean. Everything, she's progressing relatively well. And he's very happy to see her progress. And so they had a heart to heart, and he was suggesting that he wanted to set her up with the church, where it's a Bible teaching church, and so that she'll have plenty of teaching and some good groundwork with her spirituality. And she was honest with him and saying that, she questioned God about, the fact that he delivered him instantaneously from drugs. But with her, it just seemed like a long, drawn out process, and she didn't understand why. And so he just ministered to her to the best of his ability, because we don't know why God does the things that he does. Not all that the things that he do. Not all the time does God reveal that, but I think he gave a pretty decent response to her that we don't know, we don't understand. He doesn't always let us know, but the fact that we do know that everything that God does is well. You know, that everything that God does is right. You know, because yeah, he may can deliver one in a split hot minute second, and then the next person, it may take them years to get off something, or they're struggling with something for years, but there's a purpose in it. You know, maybe you need that testimony so that you can help out whomever you need to help out that's going to come into your life. And so they need to know that you struggle with this, but yet you overcame. But with him, you know, maybe he has that testimony that God did it miraculously for me so that he can deal with certain people. So we have different testimonies for different reasons. So he encouraged her and he prayed with her. And that was pretty much it. As far as with the Gibsons, they could not attend the wedding because he had to go to the islands for a convocation. I believe he's a presiding prelate over presiding bishop over a particular island, and so he had to be there for a convocation. So they could not go. Obviously, this was scheduled way in advance before the wedding was planned, so they could not attend, and they felt bad, and they mentioned that they were going to get him a gift. In the meanwhile, Bishop J and his wife, they connected, and he wanted to do something special for her, and so he took her. He showed her a good time. Basically, he took her to a tango lesson. He said he's never danced before, so you know he really stepped outside of his comfort zone to make her happy, because I guess she may have wanted him to dance for years, and he's not a dancer. So, but he met her, you know, at a place where, you know, just kind of wanted to please her. So he did that. They looked very happy together. He made her smile. He made her glow by doing that. And they had dinner together. He carried her out, and they just enjoyed each other. And she said that was different. It was definitely a surprise to her, and it brought a little joy to her life. So I like that little piece. Should the Saints tango or not, that's a whole nother subject. I'm not going to go into that. I just like the fact that he went over and beyond to please his wife. So to make her smile. And I think that that's good. In your relationship, it's important that the both go the extra mile to make each other smile. Next was Bishop Jones. He did meet with Sister Loretta just to talk and to have dinner with her, and so they had a little moment. And he, in his little sidebar, in his little talking head, he went on to say, you know, well, are we going to be together? You know, I don't know. He kind of left it open. He really didn't go into what they're going to be, what they're going to do, whatever the case may be. So it's pretty much unresolved, with, at least with the audience. We don't know. They might have, when they got married, I don't know. But we don't know. So they really did not continue their storyline. It kind of ended there, which honestly, I don't like that. I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that it's kind of open-ended, and they didn't completely discuss what direction they were going to go in. I guess it is none of our business, but since you put yourself out there, you know, it's still kind of, you know, open. So I guess we'll have to see. I hope it works out for them. You know, they seem to be happy with one another, and you know, she hung with them pretty tight this far. So I mean, hey, why not? So anyway, last but not least, I think we've covered everything. It was the actual wedding day. You know, Dietrich was nervous. You can tell he was very nervous. And also Sister Dominique was nervous as well. The family came and they supported them. And, you know, basically his father let him know, you know, you're a man now. You know, whatever decisions you need to make, that's good for you. You make them, and I support you. And so it was good to hear that, you know, his dad, you know, was in his corner, and that he was fully supporting him in his situation. And I think they had a conversation also, the two. And, you know, he let him know that, you know, he appreciates that, you know, the honesty and the coming forward, and just having to deal with his situation, even though it was a tough situation, that he felt like he did the best that he could. And so he's proud of him for getting through that period, that dark period in his life. And so, and that he fully supports him, and that he fully supports his marriage, and he fully supports his granddaughter, and he's going to be there to support them. So I like the fact that he lets him know that he's going to be there. People are going to make mistakes. I know some people believe in alienating people when they go into sin or they transgress or whatever, or they commit acts of iniquity. Some people believe and they practice alienation. I personally don't feel like that. Now, sometimes it is appropriate, especially if people are in their stuff and they don't want to get out. Then you don't need to be around that person if they're in their stuff and they don't want to come out and they want to drag other people down. Now, that person, you cut them off. But if a person is doing all in their power to make things right and to make it right with God and to make it right with other people, then why will we continue to hold them bound? Is just not righteousness. It's not holiness. It is not our role as believers to do that. If God has forgiven them, it's not our job to hold them captive or to hold them bound in their situation. If God has taken the time to forgive them for the things that they have done, that is not our role. And so I'm glad that he has decided to make it open, that he is supporting his son. I hope it works out for him. I just only pray for the best. Like I said, he went into it, but he didn't go into it. So we really don't know the depth of the situation, but the Almighty knows the depth of the situation. He made the decision to do what he's done, so there it is. I mean, the only thing we can do is just accept it. That's all we can do, and continue to keep them in prayer, right or wrong. That's all we can do. Next was the actual wedding day. The wedding came, everybody was nervous, the jitters, the whole bit. And come to find out, Bishop Jones called. The time was approaching to the time for the wedding to start. Bishop Jones called Minister Haddon and let him know that he is tied up. He cannot make it there in enough time. I think he was en route. I think he was on a plane, but I think he said Kingston. I think he was in Kingston, Jamaica. I guess his flight was delayed like 4 hours. And so he thought that maybe he would arrive on time, but it did not. So he said, you're going to have to find someone else to marry you. I will not make him there in enough time. And so they didn't know what to do. All the preachers that he knows in that moment were his groomsmen. So he was like, you have to assume that role. None of y'all can marry me. He said, I especially don't want my dad to marry me. Now, that sounds just a tad bit like superstition to me. The fact that he didn't want his dad to marry him because his obviously previous marriage didn't work out. But in my opinion, it had nothing to do with his father marrying him. It had everything to do with the person he selected to marry in the first place. And so even if his dad would have married him, I don't think it would have made a bit of a difference, because it always comes down to who you're marrying, not how it was done. Because I think people blame a lot of things. They blame like the ceremony, who was there, who performed it. They blame a whole lot of people. But at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with any of those things. It has everything to do with the person that you chose to marry and whether that person is compatible, period, point blank. So yeah, his dad, in my mind, could have married him, it push come to shove. If he wanted to be married and no one else was there to perform the ceremony, then, he would just have to do it, in my mind. But I understand his logic. He wanted to do things differently, altogether differently. And I understand that. I completely understand it. And so it was suggested by Bishop Jones that Pastor Jay perform the ceremony. So he did take his advice, and he did ask him if he could. He did come in the back. It was brought to his attention that there was a situation. He came. He was not leery, but I guess it was not the norm for him to just up jump and do something like that, because it is taught to every minister before they perform a ceremony that the people that are to get married, they're to enter into it wisely. They are not to enter into it haphazardly and that type of thing. So I guess in that moment he felt like it was a little bit haphazard, but the truth of the matter is that they were already married, and that's one thing he did not know. So at the end of the day, they're going to be held accountable for the vows that they made to each other when they made their vows to one another. And so, but I guess he felt a level of accountability if he's going to perform the ceremony. So anywho, he did perform the ceremony. Everything was beautiful. Everything went according to plan. Minister Haddon was touched when his daughter was coming down. And I think at the end of the day, and I know people said it was for sex and this and thing, that's why he wanted to rush it. He was trying to cover this and okay. But I think at the end of the day, all those things might have been true. But I think at the end of the day, he wanted what he had growing up. What he had growing up was a mom and a dad in the same household. And so he wanted that for his daughter. And honestly, that's what I felt. Yeah, it might have been the sex. Oh, yeah, he loved her. Yeah, it might have been trying to cover up some things. You know, it may have been all those things. But I think at the end of the day, he just wanted his daughter to have a family like he had a family growing up. And the security of his dad being in the household and, you know, his mommy being there and that type of thing. So it was beautiful. Like I said, it was great. They blessed the baby right after they said their vows, just like they said they wanted to do. All that worked out. At the end, he brought the family together during the reception. They had a little moment to the side. He spoke to everyone, let them know no more secrets. We're going to be upfront. We're going to be honest going forward. We wanted to share something with you. And so he dropped the bomb. He dropped the bomb that they're having another baby. Okay, so I think it was some people that were speculating as to why they wanted to get married so quick and nah. Okay, so it might have been because she was pregnant again. Might have been. But at the end of the day, the relationship that they have is between them and God, and He will judge their relationship. Okay, so, and that's how I feel about it. Them having another baby, to me, it's not really a discussion to have. I know some other people may have had the discussion or will have the discussion, but I'm just saying, as for me, it's really neither here nor there. I don't know when the child was conceived. The spirit ain't telling me nothing. So I I don't like jumping to conclusions. I don't like making assumptions. A lot of people do, just based on what they see, they just make judgments. I'm not that kind of person. I have to have facts. The Bible says in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every word be established. So that's just how I am. If I don't know, then I'm really not going to speak on it. So in regards to his situation, I'm really not going to speak on it. All I'm going to say is that I'm hoping for the best. That's it. I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping that, it is ordained of God and that, he is pleased with whatever, occurred. And that's something that they're going to have to, go ahead before the Lord about. Just like each and every one of us, we're all going to have to go before God regarding the decisions that we make in life. No matter how good we think how good of a decision we think it is, if we did not seek Him first, then, and if it falls apart, then that's on us. And so that's the only thing. So I'm happy they're happy. She looked beautiful. Sister Dominique looked amazing. The dress was beautiful. She looked beautiful. So, it came together. It was a quick, ceremony, almost like it was thrown together, but at the end of the day, it was nice. My first wedding, my first and only wedding, because I've only been married once, was kind of thrown together too. But I think at the end of the day, it looked nice as well. So I know some people, they plan for years, for their ceremony. I didn't have that experience. Mine was planned relatively short. So I know how they feel trying to get something real quick, so yeah. Just to stay out of trouble. So I know exactly, I've been through that. So I know exactly how they feel. And like I said, at the end, you're trying to do what's right, but you should not enter into a marriage unadvisedly, haphazardly. You should seek the Lord and really get some leading and guiding as to who you should connect yourself with for the rest of your life. That's the whole point. It's not for a moment. It's not to get your rocks off, but it is supposed to be designed for the rest of your life. So you're supposed to enter into that relationship with all wisdom and understanding, with your eyes wide open, with a clear understanding of who you're marrying and why you're marrying that person. And you have to deal with whatever comes, what may, in that situation. So God bless them. That's pretty much the preachers of LA. It was a roller coaster. But at the end of the day, like I said, initially, I just wanted to review it. I wanted to give, a balanced review. And so I felt that I've accomplished that. There are some things that I don't like, just like that picture in the back of Pastor Jay's office or whatever that is. I do not like that picture at all whatsoever. I'm sorry, I don't. Just like I forestated before, that skull, it represents voodoo. That's just what it is. But like I said, they seem to be kind people. They seem to be, like I say, not just Pastor Jay and them. I'm talking about each and every one of the cast. You didn't see much of Bishop McClendon. I wonder why. That's one person that was missing out of this whole bit. He did not really conclude his story. It was just, I don't know, what's with that. So, but anywho, I think overall it was okay. I think people made a lot out of it. I think more than what we really experienced from it. It wasn't as bad as I think some people thought it would be. I think that they had amped it up, hyped it up to get people to watch, but I think it wasn't nowhere near as bad as what people thought it would be. So that's pretty much my take. No major complaints on this particular episode. That's it. I'm glad that he was able to resolve everything before he actually got married in their presence, because he was already married. But I'm glad that they were able to at least get the family, just get the things resolved, because to me, it's nothing worse than entering into a committed relationship with a whole bunch of drama and confusion. That is just not the way you want to enter into a situation. So I'm happy for them that they were able to at least get it resolved. So that's it. I am so tired. Did a lot of cooking, did a lot of cleaning. I did laundry. I'm sorry. So I am completely exhausted, but I just wanted to get this done because it took so long for me to get it done because of the problems with the computer, and I'm afraid that if I don't get it done, that something else may just happen with the computer again. But anyway, thank you so much for listening and hanging in from week to week, listening to the review. What did you think about it? Did you like how it concluded? I didn't necessarily like how it concluded. I think that it should have did. You know how they do like all the other reality shows? They kind of do like where here, like this is how they ended, but this is where they're at now, that type of thing. I think that they kind of left it open, and they just kind of, I don't know, they just ended it with the wedding. But I think with each and every cast member, I think that it would have been nice just to kind of again do, this is where we ended, this is where we are now, that type of thing, or something more than what we got. I think that it just ended abruptly with the wedding, and that was it. But as far as everybody else and where they're at and what they're doing, or we have no idea. Especially Bishop McClendon. I'm so surprised. Like, he wasn't even in this episode. He wasn't in the last episode. So I don't know if he just decided that I'm not going to share any more of my story. I don't know what, maybe something happened. Who's to say? But anyway, my prayer is that, again, God's people be all that he's calling for them to be in these last and evil days. My prayer is that everybody sees the light of the truth and walk therein. That's my prayer. My prayer is that God leads all to the level of perfection that he desires for us to be. In the scripture, it says that be ye holy, for I am holy. So God is requiring for all of us to be holy, and it's according to his word. And I know that we're in this world, but we're not of this world. And so we have to be ever mindful of that. So if we have a platform such as the platform that they had, it would have been a better opportunity to minister to people. But I guess, again, this is a reality show, and so people are not necessarily viewing it to be ministered to. But there were moments and opportunities for people to be touched by what they saw, and I did see that that was the positive thing that came out of it. There were moments where people could glean from it and be encouraged for real. And then there were moments where, it just did not make the body of Christ look all that good. And so, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. And that's all that I would have to say. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and God bless until next time. Shalom.